Today I planned on plowing up everything. It's been very, very wet. My soil has the right tilth, so I can go ahead and plow when it's rained just yesterday. I wanted to try it a little better, but this little garden here, it's close to the house, so I'm hoping that I can get it planted today. And that's my Bassetti bamboo, and there's some bamboo roots. I have never plowed this side before. This is the first time it's ever been plowed up or grown. It's been mostly bamboo. And the soil is really rich here. I mean, it's really rich. You can see that. But I got some darker soil farther down. And I tried to grow a fall crop here, and I had to plant it too late because of the drought. And it failed because the cold weather was already underway, so the plants just slept. This is a devil's claw seed. Isn't that neat? It's an herb, and it has really good smelling flowers, but it has a way of grabbing you right around the ankles, and then you drag its seeds, which are in this little pouch, and they fall out. So that's how it works. It kind of hooks onto you, and you drag it around. It's kind of creepy feeling the way it hangs on, but it's made to be an ankle grabber, so you can spread seeds. It's really neat. Here's some of the big cherry roots that I grubbed up when I plowed that other side of the garden for the first time. And I found that old pan right there and a piece of glass. And these right here, this is a row of gray Gazelle shallots. They're already dividing up, and it's just April. They'll be ready real quick. They're fast producers. And I'm growing the strawberries in the ground this year. I took them all out of the pots. And there's some leeks. Those are musselburf. Yo, you can't see them. Sorry about that. This is Jamaican sorrel. Baby Jamaican sorrel. It's going to be about 5 or 6 feet tall when it's done. I got a whole row of that in there. And these are cabbages. Early Golden Acres cabbage. And something bad happened yesterday. I noticed the chickens were plucking the leaves off of it. See right there? They're plucking its leaves off. Those destructive little varmints. Well, it's real hard to grow anything when you got animals. Real hard. You see all this green all over the place? This is just weeds, and they're only temporary. They're like a cover crop. When it's still freezing out, they grow. They don't care how cold it gets. And then as soon as the weather gets warm enough for the grass to grow, they die. They make seeds and they die back. And what this does is it feeds the earthworms. And they, of course, feed the grass real fast. And they make soil with it. Some people spray these weeds. They spray them. Most people that I know spray these weeds off their pasture, even though they're going to die in about a week completely. The only reason they do it is because they're told that that's what they're supposed to do. And what it does is the cows eat that. They eat that with the spray on it, and it accumulates inside of them. And that's just what happens. The meat's really bad because of all the spray that's in the pastures. And if you use the manure, it'll kill your plants, because even after going through 5 stomachs or whatever, the entire ruminant system of a cow, it's still intact enough to kill all your plants if you put that manure in the garden. It's fed on this stuff that's been sprayed. So I don't spray my pastures at all, ever, never have, and there's no purpose in it, because I don't want the deer and the horses and the goats and the chickens and me foraging on any of the weeds. that's been sprayed. Besides, there's no reason to spray it. Like you said, everything's got its time, and all these weeds will mature and die off. And I use these weeds for cover crops on my garden. I'm going to show you my garden. I don't buy cover crop seeds anymore. I used to buy fava beans, vetch, a bunch of legumes. Problem was it would get so cold in the winter it would kill them off anyway. I'm in zone 7, and then cover crops never would make seeds that I could save, so I'd have to buy the cover crop seeds again and again. Once in a while I'd have a mild enough winter where I could save some of the seeds of some of the cover crops. But I found the best thing to do is just to let the weeds grow. The winter weeds. Stop pulling weeds and stop mowing and let the garden grow. And then when it's time to plant, plow them up. Works great because these winter weeds are very tender and they're easily plowed. They're easily broken up with, I don't plow, I just cultivate a little bit with a scratcher. I don't actually plow it. I don't even have a plow. I don't even own a plow. I sold a plow. I don't use it. So that's what I do. I'm showing you that. See, these weeds that are on top of my grass here, they're flowering and giving the pollinators plenty to eat and work for pollen and nectar. And they're holding the soil together. They're accumulating nutrients. Anyway, it's so early in the year, the trees are just now getting their leaves. I plowed this morning, cultivated this morning. I'm going to grow the corn on this side, and the rest is later. I'll plow some more. I keep calling it plow. I mean to say cultivate. You can see now that the grass is starting to come through and the weeds are starting to fall off. I'm going to show you how thin these weeds are. See, there's the weeds. They're delicate. There's no need to spray those. They're about to die anyway. But people spray them and it's stupid. You see, they've already gone to seeds. And this is what they call henbit, also known as dead nettle, because this has the fuzzy leaf, but it's really the same type of plant exactly. Henbit and dead nettle. They only live in the springtime. So you see these weeds right here, they're no trouble. No trouble at all. The orchard grass is coming right through it. But by letting the weeds grow up, I had this garden so full of weeds just because my winter garden doesn't need to be bare. And see, look at this rich soil. It's really, really rich. It's soft and rich. It's good soil. There's an earthworm. It's good and dark. Another earthworm. And I just let the weeds grow up and then plow them up. See, they were no trouble at all. And this is extremely wet soil. So it's drying because it's real windy today. I'll probably come back over it and cultivate it one more time to plant this afternoon. But I'm going to go ahead and put my corn in right here, right now. And this is a 130-foot row. I'm going to make 230-foot rows of sweet corn. And should work out really well. So yeah, and this is what the garden looked like before I plowed it. This right here, it's just covered in these weeds, these tender weeds, and see, it was no trouble. And they won't be any trouble at all because the seeds won't grow in the summertime. These spring weeds you see here, they only grow when it's cold in the winter, and so I'll not have any trouble with those. They'll just fertilize and humus my soil. And then when late winter starts happening and spring starts to arrive, these will be well on their way to covering the ground. Better than any cover crop I could buy because they're from this area. they're endemic. They're endemic to this area so well that they've naturalized, which means they're native. There's really no distinction. And they're all doing really well on this land, just like this. I don't have to do anything to make them grow better like I would with a cover crop. Now, a cover crop can also double as a food crop. So when you invest in some cover crops, they're okay if you're going to eat them, like daikon radish or something. But daikon in Zone 7 doesn't make it all the way through the winter, so you still have to buy the seeds in the spring, unless you're going to pull up a root and keep it in the house until spring and replant it just for the seed stalk. That could be done, but I get the seeds cheap from a feed store anyway. Anyway, I talked too much about that, sorry.